Do you think they should stick with Barnaby, Soph, or do you think that his lack of appeal in the inner city is a reason to get rid of him when he was able to hold every one of their seats?
Well, Paul, I think if you read the metropolitan media, you'd see that people always talk about this crazy Barnaby Joyce, and it's a concern for people. Why should they keep Barnaby Joyce in the leadership? This is where the media need to step outside the metropolitan bubble and go into the regions. And Barnaby Joyce does resonate with a lot of people. And I think sometimes when we hear the reporting on these stories, we get caught up in the city reporting on this, and we don't speak to country folk enough, Paul. And that's why our towns, when you go out into the bush and speak to these people out in the country areas, talk about these sorts of issues facing them. So I can't really understand why they would want to move Barnaby on, given the success that the Nationals had at the recent election.
Yeah, I mean, James, it seems fairly obvious that if you've had electoral success with the current leader, you don't turf them at the first opportunity. But there are those who sort of, frankly, they may represent a regional area, but their real dream is to go to inner city dinner parties.
Well, I wouldn't say that about David Littleproud. I mean, his seat occupies about a quarter of rural Queensland. The point that was made to me by an LNP MP on the weekend was, it's all very well to hold your own seats, but it's not much use holding your seats in opposition if you can't get anything out of a left-wing Labor government. Or, as he put it, sweet FA out of a left-wing Labor government. So, yeah, well done, you held your seats, but if his presence on the ticket helped the coalition to lose government, then you've got to ask, what's the point of him? I think the main thing to understand about this vote is that it was a very different party room to last time, because there are 4 new members. Jacinta Price from the CLP, the senator who's coming in, plus 2 new Queensland MPs and 1 more Victorian. So I suspect the outcome will be determined by where those 4 people land.
Now, you wrote beautifully today, as always, about why there's plenty to worry about on both sides, but certainly the Victorian Liberal Party needs one heck of a kick in the backside about the future elections. Put simply, if you give the other guys a 28-seat start, good luck being able to get anywhere near government, James.
That's right. The Victorian division is now an existential threat to the coalition, or an existential threat to the coalition occupying the Treasury benches in Canberra for very long periods of time. If 76 seats is the magic number that you've got to get up there, and the ALP and its allies start with a 28-seat head start in Victoria, they don't have to be all that popular elsewhere for the coalition to have, for Labor to have a very, very good chance of occupying the government benches more often than not. Now, the problem with the Victorian division is that this has been clear for a while, but it's sort of like Hemingway's joke about how you go broke, slowly at first and then quickly. What happened to Saturday before last was it suddenly went broke in a way that had been evident for some time. They're very, very lucky to have as many seats as they have. They almost, in addition to the 4 they almost lost Menzies, they almost lost Deakin, and they got an enormous haircut in Aston as well. So the Liberal Party now has 8 seats out of 39. That is just not good enough in Australia's second largest state. There are only Aston is really the only properly suburban seat that the Liberal Party holds in the whole of Melbourne. The other seats they hold, with the exception of Menzies, the other 2 they hold are semi-rural, Latrobe or peri-urban and Casey. This is just not, unless the Liberal Party can find a way to reverse this. As I said, it's going to be very, very hard for the coalition to hold government for long. This is the most pressing electoral problem that the non-Labor parties have at the moment in Australia. I say that because I'm a Victorian, but I really believe that's the case.